Alright, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, Connor Unchained. So, today I want to bring up a couple things. I want to bring up some undervalued narratives in the space. I'm going to bring up a couple in which, again, many might think these are completely dead, they're never going to recover, but I'm going to be assuring you that they will, and they are going to literally go crazy at some point. So let's just dive into it. So like I said, we'll cover a bunch of different narratives. As you guys know, I always talk about gaming, AI, memes, RWA every so often. Those are like the four main narratives, and Bitcoin DeFi, R5. Main narratives that I like to cover, on and off on the channel. But Runes categorizes in Bitcoin DeFi, and Runes is mainly what I want to bring up today because I think Runes right now are still one of the most slept on categories in crypto at the moment. It's actually been a narrative over the last maybe 2 weeks now for utility Runes tokens. So there have been a lot of utility tokens. So I'm not going to dive into them today, but we got a bunch. Even just Runes Terminal. This is one that did launch recently. I don't know the tokenomics of this. I don't know if they're solid or not, but Runes Terminal is literally flat on the chart, very low in market cap for a pretty well-known Runes project for what it is. But Runes themselves, I think, have a ton of upside just over the last, or in the coming months through the rest of this bull run. And something I want to bring up and show you guys is actually the Ordi chart. So Ordi, as you guys know, if you don't, Ordi was the first ever BRC20 token created, in the bear market when, most of these BRC20s and meta protocols were created. So this chart kind of shows, I think, BRC20's first, major pump back in May, before it kind of died down, settled down. But if you guys were here, in April, March, I don't know if it was late March when it initially started, but I know for a fact in April. If you guys saw the charts before they really started moving and pumping, they already was at cents. It was at 10, 20, 30 cents all the way back here. One of my most notorious fades was fading Ordi, literally at I don't know if it was 10 or 11 million dollars in market cap, or when the price was 10 to 11 cents, something like that. Either way, it's super low, and I actually tried to buy it. I had a few failed transactions, and because the platform we had to use was Dinosaur, it was like the first Bitcoin meta protocol, right? So it was very hard to even just use or understand how to use. It was a very new thing. But anyways, when it comes to Runes, Ordi, again, was the first one, so it had a ton of hype, ton of attention. When it first launched, it had this, potential move, decent little pump, right? But what did it do after that? It sat for months, from June, July, August, September, October, until end of 2023. We saw Ordi ramp up from a couple dollars, upwards of what it didn't hit 100, but over $80 for the token. And again, keep in mind at the lows in, I think, again, late March, and I know for a fact in April 2023, Ordi, it's one of those times, was literally at microscopic market cap, I mean tiny. And again, CoinGecko doesn't even show it that early. Yeah, so this is well after it started to really grow in market cap size. But then after that, this started to run, started to move. Look at the market cap, and ended up going to almost 2 billion in market cap. But what I wanted to get out of this was the fact that down here outside this chart doesn't show it all. This literally, when it launched, it had, it was different between runes and BRC20s because at first BRC20s were out, but almost nobody even knew what they were, and they were already out and existing at some point. But then people started to like FOMO and start looking into it, and then that's why we saw prices that were kind of dead and flatlined at first, which is why all these coins were so tiny in the first place because it was so experimental, speculative, and there's close to nobody even digging into this until the narrative shifted. People in the bear market started aping into it. That's when this started to move. But the difference between that is obviously at Rune's launch, it was the most hype thing in the entire space, right? Everyone was waiting for it, which actually is why everything dumped because once that major attention flows onto a project, whether it's at the very early on or later on in time, that initial launch is super important because the more hype it has before it launches, the bigger the chance it's just going to go straight down from launch for a while. That's why I always really like to find coins that they kind of launch in silence. Kind of going off a tangent here, but maybe I'll talk about that later. But anyways, with Ori, like I said, launched at its pump after a little while, but what did it do? It sat sideways for months, right? Everyone thought, okay, BRC20s were this tiny little fad, it's gone, it's dead. And then look what happened, boom. Giga pump, right? And again, this is not typical for all of them because Ori was the first, had a ton of attention, speculation on it, right? But I know for a fact that we are in a similar area as of right here for runes. Runes launched, some of them went up a little bit, didn't do too much. Then they finally trickled down, came down after, I think, literally a couple weeks. And over the last few months, most of them have been dead outside of, a select few that have been getting attention on and off. And right now, utility runes have been getting some more attention, but, also the entire market sentiment is half the reason why it's still, most of these runes are rock bottom prices, right? But again, this is where runes are right now in this August, September, October range. At some point when Bitcoin makes new highs, I expect runes to basically be a leveraged Bitcoin. You can buy utility projects on runes, or you could buy some top meme coins. I think anything and everything runes related is going to pump. And I've been very bullish on coins specifically that are bridging liquidity over to other chains. The ticker is Elsa. That's actually been one I've been watching very heavily, strictly for the aspect they've bridged onto Solana now. So they have an official trading pair on Sol. And a lot of people on Bitcoin, they might not like that, and I understand. But at the same time, again, I think long term for degens to participate in the runes ecosystem, by buying a literal Solana contract token, that is going to be a huge factor for why specific rune tokens are going to pump and go absolutely nuts, So I'm very bullish on that. There are a lot of coins and tokens that are out on ETH. They've bridged a lot of liquidity onto ETH, onto Solana. And obviously there are runes native tokens that are only on, the runes protocol on native Bitcoin right now, right? But yeah, like I said, I'm very bullish on runes. And again, I think this is the area that runes are sitting in right now. And at some point, they will run very heavily. I know for a fact they will. They're not going to sit at zero much longer, especially when we got the whole bull run ahead of us right now. Or, the rest of this bull run ahead of us. And new highs coming at some point, right? So runes, excuse me. I've talked about a bunch of different runes tokens before, Dog is like the go-to one. I actually kind of recommend, if you want like a more safe, and again, nothing in crypto is safe. Always understand that, but a safer bet would be just, Dog at 400 million, one of the first and strongest dog coins on Bitcoin itself. That is what dog go to the moon is. So, I feel like you can't really lose with this long term. I do like Wanko, Manko. These are some. I talked about them like whatever, maybe a month, 2 months ago. There's just been a lot of them coming out of nowhere, coming left and right. And it's very hard to really pick between a lot of these tokens. Because I personally I try to find like the best communities out there. Cats and the Sats definitely is a strong community still. Waddle Waddle Pengu, community is okay. Still looks good, but lots changed just in the matter of a month, 2 months, right? Because one of the biggest things that I've seen with a lot of these runes tokens is going to be how active is their team. How active are they on Twitter? Are they dropping content, this and that? That's a huge factor I look for. Sometimes like some projects just stop out of nowhere, right? And we have $1 Billion Cat too, which I don't know where. I don't know. Maybe it's not on Coin Gecko. They have $1 Billion Dog, but they don't have $1 Billion Cat. That's weird. But yeah, the ticker is actually Billy as well. Maybe they do. Yeah, they do. I guess it's not in the runes category. That's weird. This one has been making waves on the Bitcoin chain, though. This has been a great one. The chart does look good. It's kind of funny, though. This $1 Billion Cat literally reminds me of Mog. How Mog is on ETH and Sol for, all these people. Billy is kind of like the Mog for runes. They kind of have the same idea. They got these Billy glasses that they're putting on, all these ordinal PFPs. But it's a great concept. I personally, I don't own any $1 Billion Cat, but it's very strong in my opinion. The community is super strong. But those, as of recently, those have been some of the more prominent meme coins. Like I said, there's some utility projects that I'm not going to cover today. Because I'll probably make another video talking a lot more about a ton of them, over the next few days at some point. I want to drop something like that, but for me personally, I'm very specific with runes I'm picking. I'm really not trying to spray and pray for a lot of these, even though, especially for BRC20s, I did that so hard. I must have aped into 30 different random ones, just buying random chunks, minting it, and just hoping for the best. I mean, it did work out. I'm not gonna lie, it worked out pretty well. But personally, I'm not doing that with runes because I'm like I said, I try to look for community. Community is key. Whether you think a meme is a joke, you think it's not funny at all, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, it really doesn't matter, because if the community is there, that is going to be the sole factor that can really push something into that next level. That is what I focus on for at least meme coins, and specifically now meme coins on Bitcoin, right? That's just where I think these are just so slept on, though. Again, these are literal meme coins on the mother chain, right? Like, honestly, a lot of them aren't very good, in my opinion, but there are some pretty good ones, right? Like the ones I just mentioned are pretty good. But outside of that, there was excuse me. The other narrative that I wanted to cover was actually KRC20. Because, initially I was making a couple videos on that. I was actually super bullish on KRC20s. But, if you guys have seen their launch was just not very good at all. I haven't even kept up to date in the last couple days. But, I think once KRC20s are back out, bottom line, it's a brand new infrastructure for Caspa. So I don't want to say I kind of expected this, but, You don't know what's gonna happen a lot of times. A lot of times there can be errors and problems that happen, but for me, I don't think it's bearish or anything by any means. It's just, again, when you're dealing with a brand new protocol, um, it is what it is, right? It's actually, this my tweet. It's funny, but yeah, like I said, I'm still very bullish on it. I'm just patiently waiting for just KRC20s to actually just full out develop, into something. Like, I don't even care if they're fully out yet. At some point, I just want to see them get out so people can then mint, start trading them on, third party platforms. But mainly, I just want to start to see what kind of communities can come out of KRC20s because, again, KRC20 is now building on a newer blockchain. It will get attention as well. Maybe it runs with runes, or maybe just when Caspa at some point, for some reason, makes a, excuse me, makes a brand new high at some point, out of nowhere, when most of the markets maybe like not doing much, or, whatever. Maybe KRC20s are buying like a leveraged Caspa, And again, I've never been like a Caspa bull or anything like that, but I just know where potential. I just feel like I know where potential opportunity is in the market, and I feel like KRC20s probably are the most undervalued potential right now. But outside of that, those are just a couple of things I wanted to cover today. And again, like I said, I don't think KRC20 is back out yet from when it launched. I think at some point. Yeah, so I'm just kind of reading this a little bit. But this is something I think, excuse me, you definitely should be paying attention to is both of these narratives and, just checking this stuff out, checking out who's talking about it. Because honestly, I wouldn't expect many people to be bringing up a lot of these, things that I'm talking about. I like to try to find things or, kind of more higher risk opportunities when the attention is completely off of them. Another great example literally would just be regular NFTs. Nobody, and I mean almost nobody's bullish on NFTs, but I feel like that's a literal huge sign that it could be time to potentially start looking into, older NFTs, very strong communities in the past. And I'm not talking about Doodles or Bake, Bored Ape Yacht Club, like absolutely not, none of those. But I think some older, strong communities that are still out there could be, potential. But, the risk with NFTs is you're paying a lot more upfront just to buy, sometimes one or two JPEGs. But, if you guys have capital to do that, it could be worth looking into certain projects. Like even, just one, for example, off the top of my head is MFers. They always had a very strong community, and I think they have a community that would mesh well with today's kind of narrative of, I kind of feel like it's like super culture driven. It's kind of the narrative that I focus on anyways, but MFers are super culture driven as far as like NFT project or as far as a NFT project, an NFT project. I can't talk. But anyways, that's some just random thoughts that I had for today. Just pay attention to the narratives that people are not paying attention to. That is where most of the opportunity in the market really comes from. And like I said, runes right now still are super dead. Even if you talk to other people, you're probably going to talk to a few people and be like, yo, bro, should we start buying runes? Connor said it's a good time. Most of them are probably going to say, hell no, dude, runes are dead. Why would you buy those? If that happens and people say that, that's usually the time to be buying. Like, you got to go completely against your own mentality and just do the opposite of what you actually think and feel. It's weird in this market, I'm telling you. But, again, and I know a lot of people, if you are in the Bitcoin ecosystem, you do know where the opportunity is with runes, but many people that don't or aren't familiar with runes, you might not understand that, or know that there is a lot of opportunity here. So just wanted to drop this info, drop this stuff for you guys. And outside of that, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.